we had a call right before this where, oh, I should say, hi, I'm Tracy Lenz. I'm a petroleum engineer. I am the owner of Pecan Tree Inc. We are an appraisal firm. We do oil and gas appraisals, mineral valuations. We are here answering questions. We, as in me and my team, anyone who is tuning in, or anyone who I message frantically saying, help, I need help with a question, is answering questions today. So we do this once a week, Tuesdays at noon Central Time, and might be starting another session that's more of a deep dive technical session, trying to figure out timing and how that will logistically work. But I got inspired where, I don't know, last week I really liked doing the random not even a deep dive, random dive into pumping units and what artificial lift looks like and what things were, and having that being a live stream. And so I think that might be a way we could do videos in the future, and like the videos I used to put out when I had a little more time. So we'll stay tuned for that. But we had a question on a call that we had ended right before this here. And let's see. I don't know how to ask if she's in chat without, or if she's listening. I think she said she was watching. So I'll just go ahead and hit on the topic, and then send it to her later on if not. Okay, so the question that we were chatting about was, what is the difference between an appraisal that covers just producing wells and any other type of appraisal? So are there different types of appraisals, and what's the difference between them? And unfortunately, this gets misinterpreted quite a bit, because there isn't really a good standard for saying this is exactly what you need, this is exactly what you're getting. And then when you do get the giant document for a big appraisal, if there is a document included at all, it's not necessarily the most clear as to what they actually did and what they didn't do. Like, it's clear to me, like reading it, it's meant for another technical expert to be able to interpret what they did and like use it, but it's not meant for like the consumer public to understand it in the way they would pick up like a any other type of friendly version of things. So like even when I look at another appraisal, it takes me a second to like just get my bearings on like how are they presenting the information, just because there are standards, there are things that like standard ways to do things, common ways to do things, logical ways to do things, but not everyone does them, not everyone follows them. And even when they do, okay, well, how much of it was check the box and how much of it was actually being done, and what are they defining as certain things? So with that, there's two big buckets of what appraisals are. And we have the types of appraisals that are geared towards figuring out how much it should sell for, and that's like a fair market appraisal. And then there's an appraisal that is appraising a certain piece of the property. And a lot of times that's the part that is visible or taxable or easily identifiable. So that's where you get into your county appraisals, where they're just appraising the producing properties that were online as of a certain date, like they were in their records as generating royalties at a certain time. So a lot of times your county appraisals, excuse me, a lot of times your county appraisals will be as of a certain date and only include things that were online as of January 1st last year. And by online, I mean there's a well in the ground and like it's pumping up oil or gas and there's a check arriving in the mail. So they are only appraising that portion of it because that's all they care about to tax you on. So when you get that appraisal in the mail and it says, here's what your mineral appraisal is for your interests, it's not if you were to sign your name on the deed and sell your interest like as a whole, it's what they're valuing the thing they're taxing you on. And they're not taxing you on all of it. They're just taxing you on the piece that is generating income. So if you want to think of it in terms of like real estate, if you have, and real estate's different than subsurface like minerals. So I know that this analogy isn't how it works in like home development and stuff, but let's say you owned a big ranch and the county only taxed you on buildings. You wouldn't get taxed on all of the ranch except for the places where there was a building, like the improved property, like trying to use like homestead language there, right? You'd only get taxed on the improved property that has like a building on it, or you'd only get taxed on the building itself. You wouldn't get taxed on the entire acreage with how minerals are taxed. And the main reason is it's really hard to figure out what the non-producing stuff is worth on that broad scale that the counties are doing it at. But the wells themselves aren't that hard if you know what you're doing. So the wells themselves are the equivalent of the properties. Like, that's not helpful at all. The wells themselves are equivalent to the structures, like the buildings on the ranch that we're talking about, if we're thinking apples to apples. And that structure is very visible. It's distinct. It's concrete. It has a value because there's someone who has done all the title work to figure out exactly how much you own of that producing well. There's a very determined reservoir that has been targeted. All the money has been like put into drilling and completing that well. And there's a tangible thing that you're being taxed on that is producing tangible dollars. So that's one end of it. Is, hey, there's something that is generating income that is physically we could point to that we're going to tax you on. And then also that is the easiest thing to appraise. So I think it's probably best to assume if you're looking at something called an appraisal, assume it's only valuing those things. The very tangible, very surface level minimum requirement for things to value, because that's the minimum amount that the government knows about. Honestly, that's one way to look at it. Hi, Gerald. Will my taxes go up if they build a well on the property where I own mineral rights? Is that what you're saying? If you're in a state that has ad valorem tax, then and you have mineral rights, then yeah, the mineral rights taxes go up. But if you're a surface, like if you just have a house there and someone owns the minerals underneath that house, then hi, then your taxes in the surface side of it won't go up. Like do I own the minerals under my house? I don't. I should know this. I probably don't. Okay, I know that in Midland and in Louisiana I did not. I don't know here because it doesn't matter. I'm in Central Texas. There is no oil and gas under my house. Lots of rock that's not oil and gas, containing rock in Central Texas. If you don't know if you own the minerals under your home, you're probably in an area where it doesn't matter that much. If you are in an area where it matters, like if you see pump jacks and wells and rigs and like tanks and all those things wherever you drive around, you should probably know if you own them under your house or not. If you didn't intentionally, if you're in one of those areas and you didn't intentionally get the minerals, like make sure that you were purchasing the minerals with the home, or it hasn't been in your family forever and ever and ever, then you probably don't. Honestly, they've probably been reserved by a prior owner and not sold when they sold the land. So that was a tangent, but also something that a lot of people don't know. So if they built a well, to use those terms, under my house where I don't own the minerals, my taxes would not be affected at all. If I were a ranch owner who the minerals and the ranch and everything, like fee lands, have been in my family forever and ever and ever. And then and I'm in Texas because Texas has ad valorem property taxes. A couple other states do, like Colorado, Kansas. I think one of the East Coast states, like West Virginia or someone, does also. If a well was drilled on that land, then my taxes with the county would go up. Yes. But on the bright side, so it's going up because you'd be suddenly getting paid on more things. So it's like it's like an income tax almost on that stream. Like you get income tax, you'd have to pay income tax, you'd have to pay severance tax, you'd have to pay ad valorem tax. But at least you're getting paid more, right? So, okay. As a side note, I was thinking about this. If the question's related to what I'm talking about, I'll try to hit it as I'm talking. If it's not related to what I'm talking about that moment, I'll make sure to make note of it and we'll hit it the next. As long as we're not like full on questions, I'll hit it as soon as I'm like done. I keep trying to like hit questions as soon as I see them and then I get lost into what I'm saying. So, but thank you for the question. Okay, so we were talking about the difference between the two different appraisals. And usually if you're talking with, like we covered the county, if you're doing a probate appraisal, a lot of times that's only covering what they have to cover and the easiest thing to cover, and that's the producing wells that are generating income like today. And it's hard to get a true market value on oil and gas properties. I mean, until we created what we created, but we'll get into that later. Y'all that are here know that we have our pecan estimate and our pecan scope and all of our app stuff on our website. If you're watching this on the replay, we do have this, but it's been historically very difficult to figure out what those things are worth. And so in order to just keep things moving, but tax people appropriately, at least to an extent, a lot of things that are like check the box exercises require an appraisal of just the obvious income and the obvious properties and the obvious things that are filed. Like we know that you own property because you're getting paid on this well and the county shows that you're getting paid on the well, that type of stuff. If it's not super obvious, there's a deed that's buried in county clerk office's records from 1943 saying that you own land in a certain county that's not producing. It's like no operators know about it because there's no wells that are generating income. You barely know about it because you've not had to like do anything with it. You've not had any leases. There's not been any income. Those things are hard to value because there's not a, okay, those things are hard to systematically value for things like probate and taxes and whatnot because it's hard to even know what people own because it's not forced to be filed somewhere. And honestly, it's the ownership that's the harder part from a like a large scale operation, because the ownership, it's not necessarily filed anywhere. Like what exact acreage you own in that thing, because all that's filed is that you own what someone else owned, what someone else owned, what someone else owned, and it kind of depends on how things have been divided up across 100 years. Like that's what's filed with the county, typically, if it's not producing. And then once a well is drilled and a well starts generating income, that's when the company that drills the well has to send a lawyer or a landman out to the county and say, hey, could you do all that research to figure out who gets what because of all the uncertain, like all of that hundreds of years of history that has happened. And then we'll come up with a list of all the people that should get paid on this well. And then we'll send that list to the county. The county will tax them, or that's the division orders that get sent out. Like we'll manage all of that, but only for the wells, only once we have to start paying someone. We're not going to do it on all the lands ahead of that. That's the title opinion. by the way. So because that's so difficult to come up with who owns what, it's not required for a lot of things that require appraisals. And the only time people really look at that side is when they're buying it, like there's a transaction happening, buying or selling. Because if you buy or sell, say that same example of the 1943 property that was filed with the county that's never produced, isn't leasing, isn't leased, all those things. If you were to sign the deed over to somebody else, that has a value. And someone should pay you for selling property. But what is it, right? That's there. You can't use the producing wells. You can't use the lease bonus multiple. You can't use the county's tax appraisal because there is no tax appraisal if it's not producing. So what do you use? And that's where you have to look at the holistic, bottoms up approach of what is there, what is specifically being sold in that deed, what reservoirs are potential, what is producing today, producing and could be producing in the future, what is economic to drill, what could happen if we look over the next 5 years, what is realistically expected to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. Should be that should be what's included in a present day valuation of a property in whole. So if you're looking at the fair market value of something, and that's what something should transact at. So that's, that's your purchase price that you're trying to come up with. That's your the offer that you get in the mail. That should be your counter offer, right? It's the negotiated final price should be your fair market value. That is what a fair market value appraisal should be targeting. Is if I were to include the full potential of the property, being realistic, we don't have to be crazy about things, but just realistic. What would a buyer actually value if they're looking at it from a 5 to 10 year range, and how does that translate to a transaction today? Because you're not just going to total up all the future potential dollars and get a total and say that's what I need paid today, because $1 today is worth more than $1 5 to 10 years from now. So there's adjustments that need to be made for the timing and the uncertainty of all of that to pull it forward into today's dollar value. But all of that needs to be included. So when someone comes to us and says, I need an appraisal for a purpose, our first question is, what exact purpose is this for? Because if you come and tell us that you need an appraisal for, I just need to know the minimum amount of taxes I need to pay, let's say you're working with the county, then we're not going to appraise the fair market value of everything. We're just going to appraise the amount that entity cares about, right? But if your purpose is to know how much you should sell your deed to, or how much should I value this deed that I'm holding that says I have rights to this property, well, then we need to include the whole thing, because that deed isn't just the wells that exist today. It's to the rights of the oil and gas that is there right now, however it's going to be monetized in the future. So if I'm trying to say how much, let's see, man, there's a lot of different analogies that were hit with different people, but yeah, well, I'll hold off on analogies until I think of a really good one. Actually, I tend to come up with weird ones left to my own devices. Okay. So our default, just to go back to if you come to us for an appraisal, our default is to give you fair market value. So if you go to our website, the Pecan Estimate website, which let me pull that up. Our website also defaults to fair market value. Let's see if this works. If I did this right. Inception. All right. Okay, we're gonna ignore the fact that my little camera still isn't working. Wait, is that? Nope. Still doesn't work. It's fine. It's fine. I don't care. It's fine. This pecan scope that we have here. Let's see, where can y'all see my screen? Okay, y'all can't see my mouse. That's fine. Our pecan scope, when we say value estimate, we're talking about the transaction, like sales range. This is all inclusive. So we have the producing wells and the beyond producing is what we call it. The industry calls that PDP, proved developed producing, and 3P, so proven, probable, and possible value. And that's all being pulled and rolled up together in ways that the industry has all decided is the right way to do it. I cannot help myself. I have to try one more time to get. Why isn't? Let's see, does this work? Hey, y'all can at least see me now. Okay. Welcome to my laptop cam now. I'll get all my different views. So you can see my Chewy's shirt. Y'all are in Central Texas. Y'all understand the importance of Chewy's. So we have all of the value being included. Oh, hey, my mouse is here back. Hey, you can see this now. Okay. Yeah, so this scope value is a sales value. This is market value. So this is our default appraisal. If you come to us for an appraisal and you don't know anything else about what you need, you just want to know what something's worth, we'll tell you the all-in value of what something's worth. The problem is that because it's so hard to come up with, like, it takes actual technical knowledge of reservoirs and engineering and all that stuff to come up with this beyond producing number. And the problem is that because that's more difficult, the industry's kind of gotten used to saying, we know that's a difficult one to come up with. We know that you appraisers are only do producing wells. And I don't know where that became the norm, but I've not run into a lot of situations where that's terribly useful to just have the value of the producing wells. Like we definitely do that. I mean, that is a piece of every appraisal we do, is to come up with the producing value. But yeah, I don't know where that became the standard, but that's not my, like, where I would have settled on being normal. I'm gonna hop over to a graphic that we have. So on our site we have another. This is kind of out of view a little bit. Here, let me pull this over. There we go. So in the little drop down on this is our pecanestimate.com is our dashboard and our app. On the drop down we have links to things that might be helpful. So our engineering model describes a little more about what we're doing. So if I go into the model, we had things fancified by a designer, and he did a great job. It's funny seeing things like fancy when I'm just used to, like, my PowerPoint version of things. Okay. Can't I get this a little bit smaller? So the whole thing fits. Okay. This is a very common graphic for explaining their whole, like, if you think of everything that's in the ground as being everything that is a possible thing that you could, like all the way from this is a commercially discovered, not commercial, but discovered, to undiscovered things that are in the ground. And I giggle at that because it's like, this sounds like such a exploration geologist thing to say. Like, well, we haven't found it yet and we don't know it's there, but it could be there. It's just that level of pie in the sky is a very, very much exploration geologist thing to say. So I'm sure they must have come up with this somehow. But that said, most people, when they're valuing things, are looking at just this little on production, commercially discovered, it's been developed, low uncertainty, high chance of happening because it's already happened. Most of the value of a property will be right here. And so how this is working is that as you go from this side of the chart to this side of the chart, you become more uncertain. And as you go from the bottom of the chart to the top of the chart, you become more commercial. So things are more economic to do. There's less of a hurdle for you to be paid. So if you want to think of the far end, like this high number would be, there's oil sitting in a tank that's on the surface that's you just have to bring a truck out to and have hauled away. Like that's something even I could do. I could call up and if I owned a well, and I could just have them come and haul that thing away for just the cost of hauling. While on the low end, right, like the exact opposite in terms of certainty, like commerciality, is think of those deep water projects where they don't even know exactly, they haven't even started commissioning like the seismic, I guess would be they have to do the seismic, they have to do the interpretation, they have to do the extremely difficult technical challenges that are in the way. Like this is the really, really deep water things that they're not entirely sure how they would actually get it yet, but they know it's probably there. They don't know how much oil and gas is there, but they know like geologically it's probably under all these 10,000 feet of ocean. And then once you do that, it still costs $1 billion to build the Deepwater Horizon, all those things, that there's a lot in the way of getting that dollar to this, paid, right? Those are the extremes. So, with that extreme, you have uncertainty here, like something that's super uncertain, super difficult to do, and then all the way over here you have the most certain and the most commercial thing to do. So it's like right here is where you have your proved, discovered, commercial, producing, all the things. When we do when the market values things in general, like let's go to that example of the all-inclusive, what's the market going to value something for? It's usually this green portion here. So it has to be commercial to do. So it can't be something that, I'd have to drill a $10 million well in order to produce this $6 million of oil. But it's possible. Like no one would ever do that because you'd have to, investing $10 million to get $6 million back is not a commercial business deal to do. So the first thing that has to be, like the first hurdle is saying, does it even make sense to do, like economically? And that's where we have our our reserves of things that are not yet producing, they're beyond producing, but they are commercial to do. That like people are drilling it. We know how to drill it. There's pipelines in the air. Like we're able to get a pipeline to it. There's companies that can afford it. If you're a company and you're trying to say you have reserves, you have to say, I can afford it. I have the money to do this. I have shown I have the ability to get the money to do this. I have the rigs running to justify. Like there's a lot of hurdles in place in order to put things in this green bucket. But once it's in this green bucket, it has a lot more value on the market than things not in the green bucket. But as you can see, when we were talking about the easiest things to value, it's just this top portion. Like it's just the on production things that are valued, but the industry will value more than that. Like a very standard way to do it is to value more like all of the green. Like this is like public companies who are guided by the SEC as to what they are allowed to and not allowed to include in their company valuation. And if their company valuation is based on how much lands they own, minerals they own, and leases they own, they include things beyond the producing wells. It's such a standard way to do this that it didn't even cross my mind that there would be valuations that did not include that until I started seeing them, like just coming from that side of the industry. It didn't cross my mind that was even something that would happen until I first had people saying, oh, you don't do the development and non-producing stuff, right? You just do the, what? No. I do all of it I don't know how else to do it, right? Like that's how you have to do it. So, yeah, those are to really just go back to, to where the initial question started. There is a big difference between the A and B, like those two different types of appraisals. But the biggest way to know if you got like which one, let's say you already have an appraisal in hand and you're trying to figure out which one you have. Look for any signs that there was a technical analysis done into the things that are not yet producing. So they would have to be looking at the reservoirs, looking at what it would cost to drill a new well, what projected production would come from those new wells if they were to be drilled. If you're not seeing anything like that, then it was either not accounted for or there could just not be any additional potential in your area, like in the area where that appraisal is done. Like that's possible. We've definitely done appraisals where there wasn't additional drilling, but there should at least be a section saying, hey, we looked at that and there's not additional potential. If there's not that additional section in the report, also if there's not a report to go with that, if there's not a report to go with the appraisal number that you have, then I would question if it's actually an appraisal or just someone's opinion, someone's thought. I mean, all of this is having a opinion on something is not actually something you can cite and as a reference. So I've seen other experts try to cite the fact that they think it should be X, Y, or Z, and that's their citation. And that's actually not how that works. You have to have a reason that you think something is what it is. And so if there's not a supporting document or supporting files, supporting research into why someone thinks it is what it is, then it is not an appraisal. And I wish there were not so many people out there that said that they could appraise something when they're just saying, well, I think it'd be about this much. And I'm going to call it, that's my offer. Like, oh, I know this area. I'm like, oh, do you? Like, why? Let's look into why. But there should be a lot more details behind a lot of things that happen in the industry. But it's really just a hard thing that we're doing. And trying to acknowledge that while also, giving people the benefit of the doubt, but also we can do better, right? If y'all don't have additional questions, I was going to show off some of the new features. that we rolled out over the last couple weeks. Also, yes, I have curly hair, and I planned on doing something with it before this live stream, but that didn't happen. So y'all get to see raw curly hair. Let's see. Let me go to the back to. Go back to the pecan estimate, and I'll start showing off some of our features. Also, I really like a new little graphic. Woo, that's fun. Let's not do that. Okay. All right. So one of the new features that we've rolled out, and hopefully my microphone's picking up everything good. So one of our new features we've rolled out is file uploads. So we now have the ability to upload files. You could either attach it to the tract, the data, like the well. You can tag it. So I feel like it's risky for me to open up my files on a live stream because I can't blur out names and things. But when you upload a file, you're then given the ability to tag. Okay, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let me get a file in here off camera, and then we can play with it then. Oh, I gotta find something that doesn't have someone's name. Y'all having a good Tuesday? It is Tuesday, right? Yes, Tuesday. Wait, let's just do a picture. Mary, I like your curly hair. I have it too. Don't fight it. Just let it curl. I didn't learn what to do with it until I was an adult. And then by then I was just so used to not having curly hair. It's more of just, I don't feel like myself. I just get tired of not being able to like run my fingers through my hair, I guess. Okay, let's switch back to here. Okay, my little test file I uploaded. So this is, once you upload a file, you can put a description and hit upload. And now it is, so I uploaded it to the portfolio. So this would be things that were portfolio level. So when we deliver reports, we'll put it here. If you have something that is like, this is where I was gifted all of the minerals, or this is where I purchased all the deed that covers all the things that are in this portfolio, or whatever you want to put in this report level, like the portfolio level. It's like a tagging system in terms of what it's linked to. So you can click on that file then, and you can preview it by downloading it, or you can add a tag. So we now also have tags. So that is the other feature, or another feature that we've rolled out with, is you can manage those tags by saying like, this is a, let's pretend this is a plat or survey map, and we want to make all of those an orange tag. And so I just created the tag just then. So then I click on it to add that tag to the file. So then any files that I upload that is a plat, map, or survey, I'm going to put this tag on it, and it will also tell me if that file was linked to any properties or tracts or wells, or so then I can click on that tag, and it will tell me any files, wells, or tracts that have that tag. And so then if I go to, let's go to tracks, and let's say that there was a group of tracks that I wanted to send to my attorney. I don't know. We'll say I want a tag that is Review with Bob. Bob sounds like he should have a blue color. You can pick from any color of the rainbow here, though. Maybe Bob is like a royal blue. Yeah, do royal blue. And I can even make a note. We'll say 9/9/25. Things to discuss with Bob. I'll go ahead and create that tag. And I created the tag, so now I'm gonna add that to here. So now this property is, or this tract is called Review with Bob. And let's say there was also a well that I, thought I was getting overcharged something for, and gosh darn it, it's this well that I'm being overcharged for, and I want to discuss this thing with Bob also. I can then, let's see, if I upload a file here, let's see, what will this pop up with? We'll just upload the same one. And this is all relatively new. So I clicked on the wrong thing. So we're continuing to add more and more features with all of this. But I can say tag this well as Review with Bob. I can add files to talk to Bob about, like let's pretend this is the pay statement that I have a question on. Then if I open up Review with Bob, now I have the tag search results, and it will show me any tracks that are tagged Review with Bob, any wells that are tagged Review with Bob, and any files. So if I want to manage those tags, let's say I want to have a system, and I want to tag things as coming from one side of the family or coming from another side of the family, or include in the year-end review that I'm doing, or don't include. I can go to manage tags, and this is where if you want to delete or edit, or maybe you want a different color, you can say I want all of my plats and surveys to be green. You can add a new tag here, and this is where you can manage it. This is all in our new kind of settings area. So you can manage your portfolio and manage your account in these settings. And tags is one of the things it's portfolio specific, so you can manage it within that portfolio. The plan is to have some like placeholder tags that you can utilize if you don't want to come up with your own. So you can start tagging things like, well, this is the lease, this is the deed, this is the plat, this is the a reviewed property. This is I've not figured out this one quite yet, or I'm still looking into this. Like have some standard tags, but we're figuring out what we want exactly to be there right now. Okay, so we also now have subscription. So portfolio subscriptions are now something that you can activate from the website, which sounds funny, but we wanted to get the functionality built out in there first, and then go into how can people buy it, rather than kind of a lot of companies go the other direction of like, how do we get people to buy this thing that we're still figuring out how to create. Whether or not that was a good business decision or not, we'll figure out later. But let me go ahead and log out and pretend like we are a new user. So if you have not signed up yet, then when you go to our site, you'll just see our homepage, and you can still like poke around and explore and create. You can create tracks, you just can't save them because we need a place to save them. But you can explore our map, and you can even zoom all the way in and see the wells as those load in. And if you haven't seen this map before, this is our market value per net royalty acre. And let's see, it's actually off the screen a little bit. There we go. So if it's in the way, you can turn it off. But this is how you can kind of get a confidence level of if something's very valuable, not valuable at all, or like there's just not much going on. So you can do that all without signing up. But once you sign up, go ahead. Signing up also is free. So having an account doesn't cost anything. So if we go to sign up, you can just put well, that's probably not a great idea to put. You can put emails, passwords. This is all we require in order to sign up. So if I were to, let me actually just get off of streaming, or not streaming, that mode while I create a little test dummy account. Just so I can show y'all the process of like what we have now. Okay. I feel like that was a safer way to do it than me trying to do it on stream. Okay. So then we have it where you can select what your role is. This is more so we know if you contact us, like, or how we can suggest things that you would be more interested in, like if lawyers and owners have much different things they're interested in. So if I were to go ahead and sign up, then again, let me log in just off screen. Live streams are fun to manage. I mean, they are. It's just, I'm trying to get better at not accidentally giving away stuff I'm not supposed to. Okay. So once you're in our free account, this is what you'll see. You'll have the ability to create and save tracks, and then you can also purchase our one-off reports. So our one-off reports right now is just our pecan estimate. We are going to be expanding that into more types of reports that you can purchase. But now you can upgrade to Portfolio. So Portfolio is our new subscription service that we offer. And we have 3 different levels, so Light, Core, and Pro. And all of them include a scope, so a Zillow's estimate level range for any track that you have built in. The ability to do revenue audits for all the wells. Will estimate which wells that you're in. Will give you insights as to, and that's our proprietary insights on each tract that you build in. You'll get alerts on every single tract, and then you'll also be able to consolidate all the tracts that you have built in under a singular portfolio dashboard. So all of that's included, whether you're Light, Core, or Pro. It's just how many tracks you're building in. So Light is up to 3 tracks, Core is up to 150, and Pro is more of just talk to us, and it's kind of unlimited. Like we'll figure out something for you. But you'll also get file storage with all of them. A gigabyte of files is probably most enough for anyone managing 3 tracks. But all of this is stuff you can work with if you really want to store all your files on here. You also get consulting discounts with the larger portfolios, and report discounts with the larger subscriptions. Hello, Gold Miner. I will get to your question in a minute. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, and then, okay, so we have the ability to get the subscriptions on the fly right here, and if you don't see what you need, just contact us. You can do monthly or annual. You do get a discount with annual, of course, like normal, but we wanted it to be an easy thing that you could hop into. So then that is something that you can then manage in your settings. So account settings, portfolio settings, those subscriptions are portfolio based. So if you're managing like 5 different clients, each one can have their own tier of portfolio that makes sense for them. But just let us know what, if you're not seeing what you need, let us know. Okay, if we go back to... Okay, Gold Miner, hi. Okay, first time on your channel, basic question. What is a non-executive ownership in mineral rights? So non-executive ownership in mineral rights means that you just like let's pull apart those words, right? So the non-executive portion means that someone else is making decisions for you. That's what the non-executive portion means. So someone else is the one who decides any contracts that are made for that property, and you're just kind of going along with it. Typically, and most often, that also means that any bonuses that are paid with those contracts, and specifically leasing, the executive owner is the one who gets the bonus, and the non-executive owners do not get the bonus. So if the property is unleased, then you kind of don't have any say in anything and won't see anything until they have to lease it, then they have to get it drilled, and then once wells start producing, then you'll get a payment on things, but you just really won't see a lot until wells are producing. If wells are already producing from a non-executive interest, it really doesn't feel much different than executive mineral interest. I don't think it's actually called executive mineral interest, but the regular mineral interest, when you have the executive rights, it will feel very similar. It will look very similar. The only difference would be if there was a new horizon that could be leased, or if they needed to renegotiate the lease, they would talk to someone else. Now, you still want to have a copy of that lease that is governing like how you're getting paid, because it's how you're getting paid. Like that's showing how they're determining the place that they're paying you, right? So is it when the oil comes out of the ground and as soon as it touches the wellhead, that's where you determine the value of it? Or is it the value when that person sells it? Like, because it costs money to get it from the wellhead to the plant, right? It just costs money to get it from A to B. And so that's typically called post-production costs. Is that in the lease? Like, do you have to pay that? Do you not have to pay that? What is the terms that what holds the lease? What doesn't hold the lease? Like when does that operator stop operating, and what do they have to do when they stop operating? Like there's a lot of things that you'd want to know if you had a non-executive ownership, but you might not actually have access to that lease on the default. So you're saying lease renewed twice, expires in 2027. We did get bonuses each time. Who sets the terms of the lease? Okay, so you do get bonuses for yours. That's good. Who sets the terms of the lease? So that would be between the executive owner and the lessee. So the lessor, the lessee. They negotiate those terms, and that's you're the beneficiary of that. Then say no permits yet. Okay. So that lease renewed twice. Yeah, okay, so it sounds like whoever established this non-executive mineral interest just wanted someone else to be negotiating those terms. And usually I see this when they'll keep the executive interest with the person who maintains the surface ownership. Like say this was an old family ranch, because they want that surface owner to be able to negotiate. They just have the most interest in what happens on the ranch itself, because that lease includes things like how deep they have to bury the pipelines, how do they access the roads, does it have to be a locked gated thing, what happens to livestock that's managed on those lands, how big of a How do they access? Like, what security is in place? Like, all of those things are included in the lease that's managing everything else, like the royalties that are being paid. And so if you give all of that, executive rights to people who aren't affected by the surface stuff happening, then they aren't going to negotiate as hard for the right thing to be happening on the surface. So a lot of times they'll separate that into, okay, well, this family member is going to be living there, so I'm going to let them decide the terms, but we're all going to benefit from the terms they decide. Or even sometimes they'll make it a balance of power where, okay, this sibling gets to determine all the future terms, but the other sibling gets the bonus, right? Because it's if you have two different sides fighting for two different sides of the contract, then ideally you'll have the entire contract might be raised, ideally. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting. I've seen a lot of interesting things that have been done over the history. There's a couple books. Let's see, I think I have access to it easily. Never mind. I don't know where it is. But it's the royalty horror stories where all of that just went awry, where one person had something, another person had something else, and they were able to do something that, that history never considered when they like separated the interests. It's just interesting stuff if you like reading nonfiction stories from the oil industry. So you say, so confused, mineral rights passed down from mother to us, kids. We have no interest in the land owner who owns the land. We have no idea who executes the terms of the lease. Huh. So what state is this in? What I'm thinking is a lot of times at least a memorandum of lease is filed with the county. And so if you were to go to the county where these minerals are and look in their county clerk's documents, then there should be a filing of who's signing the lease. It might not have all the terms included in the filing. It might just say, okay, so Texas. Yeah, so if it's in Texas, for example, my this is not no affiliation with this, but my favorite place to go is texasfile.com because they have all the counties in Texas, well, pretty much all the counties in Texas. You can access their county clerk's records really easily and do easy searches. And if there's leases being signed, it's probably being filed with the county, and at least a memorandum of a lease is likely being filed because the person who's leasing wants everyone else to know, hey, this is taken. It's kind of like putting a wedding ring on, or at least an engagement ring on, probably more like an engagement ring, right? It's not till death do us part, but until we get married do us part. That filing with the clerk's office is the engagement announcement saying that, hey, this person's land is taken. Like, if someone else wants to come lease it, they got to talk to us because we have the lease. And it's off the market unless you want to dispute it being leased. So that will usually be filed. And that should tell you who's signing it. And usually there's an address too of like this person of this address, or this person who is part of this trust, or this person who's part of this company is signing it. I would go there and look, especially if you've had two recent leases, then that means that there's modern day leases that you can hunt down, and more likely that it's actually filed. If this was like a 1923 lease, hit or miss. But on the bright side, those older leases, they usually did file the entire lease rather than just a statement saying there is a lease, which is what the memorandum is. Speaking of negotiating terms, is there a way to find out percentages of production in the area where I have a company looking to lease my rights, so I have some bargaining power? So are you talking about like if, say you're looking to lease with Chevron? Oh, hi, Gerald. Sorry. I saw the G and the D, and I was like, oh, same person. Definitely different person. Okay. Yes. Mine are in Colorado. So those are, I'm assuming you're thinking like, if I'm talking to someone who has a lot of production in the area, then they have a lot of efficiencies to be gained if they lease with me, because that should give me the upper hand in negotiating, because they want to keep their stuff concentrated. Yeah, you can look up who operates in that area. Like the easiest way to look up Colorado, like statewide operation. That's a good idea for a report. I'm gonna write that down. I'll write it down after the stream, but because that's something that we could pull. Like, I mean, that's an option, right? Just ask consulting hours for us to pull that report for you. But if you go to you could probably like free ways. I'm thinking that you could do this. The Colorado GIS site is pretty good. Have you been to that, or I can pop it up on the stream? I don't mind at all. I've been historically cutting these off like right at 1:00, but I had some issues getting started today on the stream, and I have nothing right now between 1 and 2:00, so I don't mind going over. Let me pull up the Colorado GIS. Okay. So it's this COGIS database, if you haven't been here. And every time I go to another, keeps moving. Here we go. Okay. So we want to go to the maps, interactive map. And I actually like, they have really good data. I like Colorado's data. What is happening here? I wonder why none of my cameras are working today. Oh well. Okay. Asking because they're offering the bottom of the barrel percentage, 12.5%. I want to see if I can show where either they or another company is paying more per barrel. Honestly, they probably are. So you won't be able to see if, sorry, I'm like looking at one screen and navigating with the other screen. So excuse my looking one direction and talking the other direction. This will at least let you see, let's just zoom in to usually most of the activities around Denver. That's where you're in your DJ basin is what that's called. And I usually navigate on my own map, but I'm trying to show you how you could do this. So the Denver basin here, you can see all the wells and the units. Let's see, if you go over to directional wellbores, is how you turn on the sticks. So these are the horizontal well paths. Um, and what you could do is this will show you the operator. So like this well is being operated by PDC Energy, and I think you should be able to pull that information off of like well status and classification and stuff. But I've not like specifically. You could do selection results and then like export it to maybe copy and paste into Excel if you're in your area. I mean, I would go to Excel. But this is also where you could see if there's any state lands or tribal lands, federal lands, surface features that are being avoided, such as if there's a residential area around you. But 12.5% is very, very low. Like you said, it's the minimum. And unless there was a federal, no, that shouldn't affect it. I would at least expect 18 and 18.75% these days for a modern lease. You'd have to be pretty far in the middle of nowhere to get 12 and a half. Like maybe if there wasn't another well within 5 to 10 miles, maybe 12.5%. But even still, I'd rather get a lower bonus and a higher royalty. Go back to so gold miner. You're saying, I know I sound like I'm unknowledgeable. Don't worry about it. I wasn't thinking that at all. I know who has the lease that expires in 2027. We do get bonus money. No permits have been filed to drill yet. My question is, do us kids have any say when it comes to lease comes due in 2027? In the past 2 leases, we've just accepted the offer on the lease and just accepted the bonus money. I guess it depends on like specifically how that non-executive interest was broken out and the rights that it gave you when it was broken out. So if you have that deed that describes exactly your rights that are associated with that, like there's not necessarily something that says if it's called this, you have these specific rights. It's just this is the most common thing that is given when someone is given something called that. So looking up and seeing exactly how yours are defined would be what I would start with. And then that should outline what rights you have. Maybe you do have the ability to have some say in it. If nothing else, there's typically the reason that it is broken up is because the person who has the executive rights should have the ability to make the correct decision for the rest of the owners. If they're not making the correct decision and they're acting in a way that is not in the best interest of the rest of the owners, then they are not fulfilling their executive duty. So, I mean, that is if they have by you not being the executive owner and them, like someone else having that executive right, that comes with responsibility. And so if they are not doing that, it all depends on obviously how worth it would be, but you could fight that and say that they are not fulfilling their duty as executive owner and making correct lease term decisions. Obviously, anytime you include any type of argument in oil and gas, like you're not just in an expensive industry, you're working with expensive individuals in an expensive industry. So like oil and gas lawyers are crazy. I love them. They're wonderful people, I'm sure. Their fees can get up there. So just make sure it's worth it if you were to fight that. Obviously, if you are able to talk to them and reason with them and explain that they have the duty to to listen to all of the other owners' needs and make the best decision for all the owners, then that should be a resolution. But you know, money makes people do crazy things. So, see, it's good that you at least get the bonus money. But I have seen it where you have someone who has a large portion of it, and they have such a big portion of it, they don't really care as much as the people who have smaller portions because they have larger portions of everything. So it's not as big of a deal for them as it is for the other owners. But that doesn't excuse them from acting in the best interest of the other owners, just because they don't have, like, them not having a personal interest in acting on the best behalf. A hard part is proving that they aren't. There's several case law studies, and I'm not a lawyer. Anytime I start talking anything legal, I should probably say that, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm an engineer. But there's some interesting case law studies about like landowners who purchased the executive rights specifically so they could not lease with people. And this would be a landowner who, the one I'm thinking of was I think it was a hunting range in West Texas. They wanted to maintain the ability to hunt. And so they purchased just the executive rights, but they didn't purchase all of the mineral interest. And so they were the ones controlling the terms, and they could be the ones saying, oh, well, we don't actually want to lease with someone, or we want to make crummy terms to make people don't want to drill on our lands. So they were making it very difficult to drill on their land, but they didn't own all the minerals. And so all the other mineral owners also weren't benefiting from people drilling on the lands, but they also didn't have the surface stuff going on that they didn't have the hunting range that they were profiting from. They just had these mineral interests that were sitting there doing nothing because the executive owner was being selfish. And that was, I believe, I mean, this is me summarizing case law, dangerous thing, but I believe the final resolution to that was that they couldn't act on their own behalf only just because they purchased the executive rights, because they purchased the responsibility with that. Like, that's what they purchased, was the responsibility to act on everyone else's best interest. Uh-oh, Whitney's calling me. That probably means it's time to go. Whitney, I'll have to talk to you later. Gerald, I submitted my intake forms with you guys and have a ton of questions. LOL. Well, great. We love answering questions. Yeah, for anyone else watching this, we have an intake form for any projects where it just has all the questions that we'd be asking on the phone anyway. It gives you a chance to get your hands around it before we ask you those questions on the phone. And then it's okay, Whit. Yeah, it gives you a chance to answer any questions. That, like, just bring it all together. That intake form goes to Kelly Nall, who, if you've been on this live stream once or twice, Kelly's name is all over this live stream because she is our project manager who helps me not go crazy, and it helps our team maintain sanity and actual deadlines. So anyone who contacts us will probably talk to Kelly first, and she helps arrange everything. And then Whitney, who's on here, myself, Becca, us three are the engineers right now on the team. So everything is overseen by me because I'm the licensed engineer and I'm the licensed appraiser. Whitney and Becca are everything but licensed, so they're just as great. It's just that from a responsibility standpoint, I oversee all of them. And then we have our developer team. This is Jason and JD. So that's our team in a nutshell. So if you contact us, thanks for submitting your intake form. Yeah, Kelly is super nice. I promise that anyone else that submits it won't get berated by Kelly. Probably be the nicest conversation you've had all week if you talk to Kelly, actually. So, okay, well, apparently I need to go talk to Whitney. So I'll talk to all y'all next week. We are indeed having the same live stream next week, and I will try to get my camera, my normal camera working. This is not my normal camera. If you're watching this, this is the grainy webcam version of my normal camera. I normally have my nice, fancy, Sony just sitting there looking at me without streaming. Thanks for helping, Sony. But thanks, Mary. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Gerald. Thanks, Gold Miner. Let's see who else was on here. Thanks, Alice. I'll talk to y'all later and hope to see y'all next week. All right. Bye. Oh, I have a new... Wait, watch this new graphic I have on the end. Ready? Ready?